In this lecture series, I'll be teaching you meet and join. So first of all, what is meet and what is join? Or what is the meaning of meet and join simultaneous? So first of all, I have already told you how to find out lower bound and how to find out the upper bound in a given poset diagram. So from this we derive the greatest lower bound, and this is the least upper bound. Okay, this is also called meet, and this is called join. So greatest lower bound is also called meet and least upper bound is called join. Suppose you are having a set of value in the upper bound and in the lower bound as well. Now you have to find out the least element, and from this you have to find out the greatest element. This will give you meet and this will give you join. Next thing, how can you remember the sign? So this is how you write meet. This is the sign of meet. Reverse of this is join. Roughly, what is the meaning of meet and what is the meaning of join? Suppose you have given a figure and this is the edge that is given subset. If you are meeting, or maybe there is a diagram, if you are meeting in the lower section of the figure this way, then this is called meet. And if you are meeting or joining in the upper section of the figure, that is called a join. So this is how you differentiate between meet and join. The second thing is, how will you define? How will you define meet semilattice and how will you define the join semilattice? So first of all, meet. What is a meet semilattice? So if in a poset, this is how we represent a poset, every pair of element has a meet. This is how we represent a meet. Then it is called meet semilattice. Suppose you are having a poset and you have drawn a haze diagram out of that. So then in this diagram, if you consider any pair, any random pair, then you get a meet. And this condition is true, then this will be known as, this poset will be known as meet semilattice. And the reverse is join semilattice. It is defined as, if for every pair there is a join in the diagram, then you can simply say that this is a join semilattice. It is defined as, if in a poset every random pair or every pair of element have a join. I have already told you how to find out meet and join. Then it is called join semilattice. This is simply the definition, I'll be telling you the one example. Suppose we are having this example. Suppose this is the example in which I am having a haze diagram like this. This is my haze diagram. Okay. Now I have to find out meet semi-lattice in this. So just randomly pair. So the random pairs are 1 comma 3 or 2 comma 3 or 1 comma 2. Okay. So you have to simply find out the meet for this, means uh, where they are meeting. So suppose I'm saying that for 1 and 3, for 1 and 3, meet means meeting somewhere in the lower section. So from 1 and 3, so you can reach 1 from 1 and 3 from 1, means from 1 you are reaching 1 also and 3 also. So for this 1 and 3, the meet will be 1. In the same way, for 2 comma 3, the meet will be 2, because from 2 you are reaching 2 and from 2 you are reaching 3 as well. But if you write down this pair, there is no meeting point. So this is 5. So as for every pair, there is, for one pair there is not a, you're not finding a meet, then this is not a meet semi-lattice. This diagram is not a meet semi-lattice. Just see if it's a joint semi-lattice or not. So in this case, if you want to find out if this is a joint semi-lattice, then you have to tell me in the upper section where there are meeting. So for 1 and 3, the upper bound will be 3. From 2 and 3, the upper bound will be 3. For 1 and 2, the upper bound will be 3. So this is the joint of, this is joint semi-lattice. But not meet semi-lattice. Let's take another example. Just suppose this is the reverse condition. This is 1, this is 2, and this is 3. Now you have to find out meet and joint semi-lattice. So in the same way, I'm just pairing up 1, 2, 1, 3, and 2, 3. Okay. So join means you're joining in the upper section somewhere, or meet means you're meeting in the lower section somewhere. So let's find out the meeting point or meet points. For 1 and 2, the lower point is 1. For 1 and 3, the lower point is 1. For 2 and 3, the lower point is 1. Yes, this is meet semi-lattice. Let's see if the join exists. For 1 and 2, 2. For 1 and 3, it's 3. For 2 and 3, it's 5. So this is not a joint semi-lattice, but yes, this is meet semi-lattice. So this is how you can find out meet and joint semi-lattice. So in simple terms, if you are meeting somewhere in the lower section of the diagram, it's meet semi-lattice. If you are meeting somewhere in the upper section of the diagram, it is joint semi-lattice. Okay. Now let's see what is a lattice. So let, this is a poset, be a poset. It is called a lattice when it will call a lattice if for every pair or for every two element any a comma b, it has a meet plus join. If you are having a diagram and for every pair you are having a meet and you are having a join, then you will call that this is a meet is, you write like this and there is a join, or you can simply say that meet similartized hai and we have joined similartized also, then this is called a complete lattice. This is important. So this is how you can say that this is a complete lattice. So in most of the cases, the total order set, like I have told you the what is the meaning of flow set, the total order set is most of the cases is an example of lattice. Suppose this is the diagram. We have already studied the Hayes diagram, and this is how you draw it. 1, and this is 2, this is 3, this is 4. Okay. So in this case, meet is 1 and join is 4. As every pair is meeting at 1 and joining at 4. So every pair, for every pair there exists a meet and every pair there exists a join. So most of the total order जो भी total order set है, they are all mostly lattice. So this is something that you have to. Now what is a infinite lattice? Infinite. If the poset is infinite, like this one, this is infinite. If the poset is infinite, then the lattice will be also a infinite lattice. Next is, suppose you are having a example and you have to tell me if the given thing is lattice or not. How will you identify? Let's see. So suppose this is, so this is completely a lattice because we have a meet and we have join also. Suppose we have this diagram. Now in this diagram, we have joined semi-lattice and it is joining somewhere upper position here, but the lower position are 2. So meet semi-lattice does not exist, so this is not a lattice. Next, if this is the case, random, yes, this is meet semi-lattice plus join semi-lattice and this is lattice. Next, this is the example. Okay, so in this, for every pair there is, does not exist a lattice. Suppose for this pair I'm getting this and this also upper bound. So I have to find out the least upper bound least, but least element are 2. So I cannot find out the least upper bound in this case. So this is also a lattice. This is a lattice and this is a lattice and these two are not. So this is how you can find out the lattice, sublattice and semilattice. In this section, I'll be teaching you complete lattice. What is a complete lattice? I have told you in this lecture, I have told you how to find out whether a given poset is lattice or not. If there exists meet and join, if you can find out the meet and join in a particular poset diagram or Hayes diagram, you can simply say that this is a complete lattice. So the definition goes like this: each non-empty subset of A has a meet and join, then you can simply say that this is a complete lattice. When meet and join is not defined, it is not complete. Say in case of infinite lattice means that the ending is minus infinite, zero or infinite. Either meet is known or the join is known, so it is incomplete. We know the starting position of the lattice. We know the starting position of the diagram, but we are not aware the ending. As it is, the ending is infinite. So in this case, either we find out meet or we find out join. But we cannot find out both meet and join. So in this case, this is not, all the infinite lattice are not complete lattice. So all the finite one are the complete lattice, but all the infinite one are not the complete lattice. This is one of the example of complete lattice, as I can easily find out the meet uh, and the diagram and in this diagram and in the join. Then next move on to the bounded lattice. What is a bounded lattice? If a lattice has least and greatest element both, it is called bounded lattice. Means whenever a lattice is having both least and greatest, or I can say meet and join, or upper bound is clearly defined and lower bound is also completely defined, then we can say that this is a complete lattice. And as we have discussed that infinite lattice are never a bounded one. So in this case, the greatest is 1, or it is represented as a universal set. Least element is 0, it is represented as 5. So certain conditions that are true here is whenever you meet any element with the universal set, it will give you a that set only. In the same way, if you are performing union with the universal set, you are getting the universal set. If you are performing intersection with the universal set, you are getting the set. In the same way, if you are performing meet with the greatest element, you are finding the element. And if you are performing join with the greatest element, then you are getting the greatest element. So you can simply use this formula in the when you are finding out the meet and join. So this is 1 and 0. These are the representation, and this is how we represent the highest and the lowest element. Lowest element is 0 and highest element is 1, and we can also represent it with a capital I. What is complemented lattice? And or what is complement in a lattice? Complement in a lattice. Let L be a bounded lattice for any element A belongs to L if there exists any element B belongs to L such that A join B gives us the highest element and A joins B is equal to 0 or the lowest element. If A joins B gives us the highest element, and if A meets B gives us the lowest element, then B is called the complement of A. I is the greatest element, 0 is the largest element. If you are performing B's join, then you are getting the highest element, and if you are performing B's meet, then you are getting the lowest element. Every time you are getting the highest element and the lowest element with A and B, then A is called the complement of B and B is called the complement of A. Just reverse. So basically commutative property is true for both meet and join operation. So A's complement is B and B's complement is A. Means in one operation you're getting the highest element, in the another operation you're getting the lowest element, and both the elements are complement to each other. Just see this example. I'm having these elements 1, 2, 3, 5, 30, and the relation that exists between them is divide operation. I have drawn the Hayes diagram. The lowest element is 1, which is connected to 2, 3, and 5, and the largest element is 30. And this is the Hayes diagram where we have avoided all the self loop, all the directions, and all the transitive edges. Now you can simply say, see, if I am performing meet, one meet if I am performing, then I am getting 30. If I am performing once join, then if I am performing once meet, then I am getting 1. If I am performing once join, then I am getting 30. The highest element here is 30 and the lowest element here is 1. So this is the case of a complemented lattice. So in a bounded So, in a bounded lattice, we have at least one pair greater than least that are complement to each other. Other pair may or may not exist. And the second point, find out elements so that two meet elements 1 and 2 join element 30. So there is element 2 and you have to find out the meet that gives you 1, and you have to find the join that gives you 30. So this is how you can simply complement it. Means if you can see the diagram, so from 2 you are getting 3 and 5. 3 is connected to 2 and 5, 5 is connected to 2 and 3. That these are two the complements. 2 and 3, when you are joining 2 and 3 from the above figure, it will give you 30, and when you meet you will get 1, and this is how you can simply identify from the figure. Let's move on to another example. Here I am having 1, 2, 3, 4. Greater and equal to is the operation. This is a simple straight line. If I am complementing 1, I am getting 4. If I am complementing 4, I am getting 1. If I am finding out the meet, I am getting 4. If I am finding out the join, I am getting 1. So this is also the example of a complemented lattice. In the next D18 and divisible sign, if you are performing meet to 2 and 3, you are getting 1. If you are performing join to 2 and 3, you are getting 6. 6 is not a greatest element, and 2 to 3, okay. 3 is not complement, and that is why 3 is not complement of 2. Performing 2 and 9, then you are getting meet you are getting 1, and at join you are getting 18, and this is the complement. And again for the pair 6 and 3, no complement, and so this is how you can calculate all the above. These are some examples, just go through. So basically complemented lattice, every element must have a complement, either highest or greatest or lowest. What is distributed lattice? If any lattice satisfy the distributed property, it is not a distributed lattice. So this is the distributed property. The sign are not of union and intersection. The V represent join, and the M like sign represent meet. Not all the lattice follow the distributive property. This is one of the important property that you have to remember, that not all the lattice follow the distributed property. Some follow, some doesn't follow the distributed property. These are two examples. First one follow the distributed property, second one doesn't follow the distributed property. Why so? Let's see that. So simply apply the distributed law in this, and you will find out that not all the lattice follow the distributive property properly. Let's move on to the next chapter. Complement of an element, if exists, is unique for distributed lattice. If exist means may exist or may not exist. So in this section, if the complement exists, the complement is unique, means only one complement exists. So this is the example from which you can simply see all property of Boolean algebra combining all the property of lattice. As observed, either a lattice is complemented or distributed or none. This lattice is complemented as phi's complement is a comma b. A comma b will give you the c. This lattice is distributed as every element has complement or unique complement. Unique complement means only a single complement. If a lattice is distributed complemented, it follows that Boolean algebra property. If in a lattice every pair has a unique complement, then it is called a Boolean algebra. As all set has complements and all the set have distributed properties, so it is also called a Boolean algebra. So this is phi is least and the universal set is the greatest one. The only total order that is complemented also. The only total order that is complemented also. Simple, a single value A. Boolean algebra follow all the properties as commutative, associative, distributed, identity and all of them. So this also follows number of element 1, edges 1. This is the example. Some more example rules of for the Hayes diagram, set number of elements. So the first one, number of element 2, AB, number of edges are 4. So this is how you can simply identify using the formula. Like number of edges will be number of element 1, the number of edges will be also be 1. So here the number of elements are 2 and number of edges are 4, means 2 into 2 to the power elements, no, 2 into 2 to the power edges minus 1. So 4. Odd number of lattice will not satisfy Boolean algebra property. N is equal to ABC power set. N is equal to 3, vertex 8, edge 12. Vertices are always in the power of 2, either odd or even number of element. 2 to the power n vertices. What is the meaning of that? 2 to the power n vertices. If poset elements are 2 to the power n, then it can be Boolean algebra. So how to find out how to calculate the number of edges? It is simply calculated as n into 2 to the power n minus 1, 3 into 2 to the power 3 minus 1. If the vertices in a Hayes diagram is 2 to the power n vertices, then only you can take it to the Boolean algebra number of element in the poset. Like this is how you calculate the vertices and this is how you calculate the edges. So simple Boolean algebra is the distributed property and complement lattice, and this will give you a Boolean algebra structure. 2 to the power n vertices are there, n into 2 to the power n minus 1 edges are there. This is a lattice. There are some more example. Just you can simply see by calculating the edge and vertices. These are all same. So far we have studied the equivalence, partition, and all these classes. I have already told you the partial order, total order, lattice, distributed, Boolean algebra. And from the function part, now we will move on to the groups and monoids. What are the various groups and what are the various monoids? Just move on to the group theory. So, like we have binary operations, Boolean product and Boolean sum. Here we are having two binary operations, meet and join. So meet and join are just similar to the Boolean product and Boolean sum. This is the table that you can go through to find out the similarities. It is behave as intersection and the next one behave as union. So binary operator we have and unary operator means simple complement operator. So binary operation is a function form S cross S to a non-empty set S itself. S cross S give you S. So this is simply a binary operation, means operation on two operands. belongs to S, comma, all the algebraic structures. So you can simply see the given example. If I'm having a set and I'm having a operation, then this will give me a result that belongs to the set itself, like 1 comma 5. If I perform this, then I will get 6, and 6 belongs to this n set itself. In the same way, in the set of integer, if I am performing addition, take any two number from the set Z, perform the plus operation, you will get a number that belongs to the set itself. This is also a binary operation. So in binary operation, if you are having a set and you are having a relation, and whenever you are taking any two element from that set and you are performing the relation, that the given relation, the given binary relation, then you are getting a element that itself belong to the set, and you can say that this is a binary operation. If it is not possible, then you cannot say that this is a binary operation. You say then this is not a binary operation. Like in this case, if I'm doing multiplication on any number, it's not important that I'm getting. So now what is algebraic structure and what is the binary operator? S is a non-empty set. It is called if A cross B belongs to S for all AB belongs to S over operator S. And this is the closure property. What the closure property says, to this doesn't belong to the set. It is not a algebraic structure. As 2 comma 5, it doesn't belong to Z. Give you a rational number. Means rational plus floating. This belongs to. Set plus closure property give you the algebraic structure. This is important as we are going to use it in the group section. What is a semi-group? Okay, what is a semi-group? Now, the algebraic structure S and binary operation is called semi-group if this associative property is true and the closure property is also true. Then this is called a semi-group. If the closure property and if the associative property is true in any group, then this is called a semi-group. Now you have to find out whether the given algebraic structures are semi-group or not. So first of all, I am just checking the associative property, and the associative property is true. So I can simply say that this is a semi-group or this is not a semi-group. So this is how you have to identify by checking the associative property. So next, only plus and multiplication are semi-group and rest are not. Semi-group associate is an asterisk associated in S. T belongs to S. T is closed in T is a semi-group of S, and this integer set plus if you're applying the binary operation plus, then this is a semi-group. You can simply see that even number, if you're performing even number plus, it is closed as well. It is sub semi-group of E. To a number of element is always even. E is sub semi-group. Okay. Now move on to what is a monoid. A semi-group, first it has to be a semi-group. Is called monoid if there exists an element E that belongs to S such that if you perform the binary operation on any element A and E, it will give you the element itself. Means that element is behaving as identity element. If you are keeping the element in the right side, you call it a right identity element. If you are keeping the element in the left side of the operation, then you say that this is the left identity operation. Just make a quick revision. If algebraic structure, then binary operation. Semi-group, we want to satisfy the associative property. For monoid, there is a identity element. When we multiply or divide or do any binary operation, we get the number itself, and we don't as the identity element give you the same result of as the variable you are operating the identity element on. So in the all these are the example that prove that the following sets are monoid or following sets are not monoid. If there is a set of natural number and I'm performing addition sign, so I'm getting a number that belongs to the natural number. So if I'm performing 1 plus 0, it is giving me the natural number. But 0 is not a natural number. But order does not belong to set of natural numbers, so it is not a monoid. So this is not a monoid. And how this is how you can find out if the given set is monoid or it is not a monoid. I have proven I have taken so many examples, so you can simply go through these examples. Okay. Next is what is a group? A group is a monoid in which if x belongs to G and x inverse belongs to G, then x into x inverse give you the identity element. When we perform binary operation on an element and its inverse, we get the identity element. As I have told you that there is an identity element. This identity, this x inverse is always unique, means only one inverse exists. So G and binary operation is called a group if it is a monoid and there is an element E that you get by performing the inverse of that. What is the property of a group? What are the various properties that a group have? So there are various properties that a group have. Like identity element is unique per group, means only one identity element is there. If there is E, there is E inverse also. Inverse of every element is unique, means obviously the inverse of every element will be unique only. A into A binary operation B is equal to A binary operation C, then B is equal to C. Means if you are performing the same operation on two numbers and you're getting the same numbers, then the variable must be same. Means A into C and B into C are giving you the same value, then A and B are equal. No two different number can give you the same result using the same operation. And this is how you can simply find out if you are if you are performing 2 into 5, you're getting 10. If you're performing 3 into 5, you cannot get 10. So that is the concept. And if you're getting a 10, then that 3 is equal to 2. Order of group in discrete mathematics, number of element in a finite group. This is a group, its order is 3 as the number of elements in the group are 3. If group is finite, then order doesn't exist. And the power set order is 2 to the power n order. And this is how we represent a group representation. So we have one element in the group, we have E. Every group must have a identity element whose inverse give you the inverse, and this is the composition table. Okay. So if you are having two elements, means you are having identity element and a set and another element A. So A into B cannot be equal to A into C. This condition you have to keep in mind. So you have to change. G is equal to 3. This is the composition table. If E into is giving me A, then E into and A into A giving me A and A into E into B giving me B. Okay, fine. A into E giving me A, then A into A cannot give me. So I have to change. I have to change accordingly. Every row must contain all the element. Every column must contain all the element of the set. So this is just you have to just prove the identity property, and for that we have making some changes. The following is the incomplete operation table of 4-element group. What is the last row? What will be the last row? You have to tell me. So its correct answer is this D. Just calculate and you can simply see the result. What is abelian group? A group is said to be abelian if A into B gives and B into A. For all AB belongs to G is a group. And the following property is true. Means commutative property is true. Means closure, associative, identity, inverse. It is a group also, and the commutative property is also true. Then only the group is known as the abelian group. Commutative property is true with plus and multiplication sign. A plus B is equal to B plus A into B is equal to B into A. This property is true. Then you can simply say that this is a abelian group. For this, like this is a abelian group. This is also a abelian group. What are the properties of abelian? In a group G and asterisk, if x inverse is equal to x, then it is abelian for all x belongs to G. In a group G into asterisk, if A into B, it is not abelian. What is a modulus? What is modulus operator? In modulus arithmetic, the integers co-prime to n form the set 0 to n minus 1 for n non-negative integers from a group under multiplication modulo n called the multiplicative group of integers modulo n. Assume there is a closed area. Suppose you are having a closed area. Why we calculate the modulus, that is we are trying to prove here. Suppose I am having a 7-hour clock. Okay. Assume a closed area, or I am having a bounded buffer, or I am having a closed clock, means 7 hours. So if I am adding 6 plus 2, so I should get 8. But I am not getting 8 because there is no 8 in the clock. I'll get 1 again. So this is the concept. What I have then done, I have simply performed the modulus of the number. So if you want to keep anything in range in your program also, if you want to keep anything within the boundaries, then you have to perform the modulus every time uh, with the largest number, so that your answer will be in the limit itself. So this is the reason that why we perform the modulus if we are using any data structure of any particular element. This is addition modulus and this is multiplication modulus. This is the example of addition and multiplication modulus. This is how you perform that. This is the example. You can just simply go through. What is the order of an element? A belongs to G in G asterisk. Order of element A is defined as the least positive integer n such that A to the power n is equal to E. Whatever the least positive integer you can take to the power of A that will give you an identity element, then you can say that this is the order of your set. Okay, what is a subgroup? Let G and B is a group and H is a subset of G. G asterisk is said to be a subgroup if the following property is true. Means G itself is a group, it is a single or trivial group, only identity elements are allowed. Okay. Now, what is the order of the number of element in a group is called the order of group. Next is Lagrange theorem. The order of subgroup of a finite element G is a divisor of the order of the group G. Means if you are dividing the order of group and subgroup, you are getting a positive integer, and this is the Lagrange theorem. Normal subgroup. What is the definition of a normal subgroup? So in a coset, let H be a subgroup of a group G and let A belongs to G, then the set A into H belongs to H is called the left coset generated by A and H and is denoted by AH, right coset denoted by HA. Normal subgroup. A subgroup H of a group G is said to be a normal subgroup of G if HA is equal to AH for all A belongs to G. Commutative property is must to be a subgroup, so all the abelian groups are normal subgroup also. Now we have a cyclic group and a ring. What is a cyclic group and then what is a ring? G is a cyclic if every element of it can be generated by some other element. So it is called a cyclic group because if you are taking any one element, you can derive all the other elements, then you can say that this is a cyclic group. We are getting different elements in the group on performing g to the power n. For every n, we are getting a new number, and like this, we can derive all the elements in the set. We will get all the element of the set from a single operation g to the power n. It is also called generator of the group. Some property of cyclic group are every cyclic group is abelian. If A is generator of a cyclic group, then A inverse is also a generator of G. Now, what is a ring? So, a ring consists of a set and two operators. A ring R plus into is a set R together with two binary operation addition and multiplication. An algebraic system is called a ring if it is abelian group, it is a semi group, the operation is distributed over addition. So there are some property of ring also. Let A, B, C belongs to a ring R, then A into B is equal to and B into A is give you identity element. If this will give you this, and all the above property are true. What is field? A ring containing at least two elements is called field if it is commutative, has unity, is such that every non-zero element has multiplicative inverse in R, and all the properties that is mentioned. R plus is a abelian group, the commutative group, distributed law. All these properties are true. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.